In honor of Tu Beshvat, we're in the month of Shvat now, which Rav Obam has said stands for Simcha, Bracha, and Toiva. And Baruch Hashem, we have a big Simcha from Bracha in our family. And it's brought down in the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah. It's on Daf Beis actually. Be'echad Beshvat Rosh Hashanah le'ilon. It says le'ilon. As Beis Shammai says, Beis Hillel says, B'chamisha asar bay. So Mishnah starts off in Rosh Hashanah discussing the Rosh Hashanah for Elon. So the kasha is, why does it say Elon? Should have said Le'ilon Nois. Chag Le'ilon Nois. It's a plural. In fact, all the other ones that the Mishnah brings down, Rosh Hashanah Le'melachim, the Shmitas, U'li'oivlos. Okay? So the famous teretz brought down by Bnei Yisros, Chusa Yogen Aleinu is, we're talking about a specific Elon that we have to be davening for and thinking of on Chamisha Beshvat or Rosh Chodesh Shvat, according to Beis Shammai. We pass on like Beis Hillel, of course, and that is the esrog. When a person davens on Chamisha Beshvat, Tu Beshvat, for his esrog, he'll be assured of a wonderful esrog for that year. But let's talk about Tu Beshvat for just a moment. And Rav Elimelech Biderman, discusses Tu Beshvat from a very interesting and insightful perspective. He says it's a Rosh Hashanah which represents the renewal of the trees. It's the new cycle of the year. So that makes it a tremendous yontif because we have to renew ourselves. But he asks an obvious kasha. We don't suddenly see trees blooming on Chamish Beshvat. You cannot look at the trees in the middle of the winter and see any difference. So what are we celebrating on that particular day, Dafka, in the middle of the winter season? So he puts his fingers together, Rabbi Yirmiyah, and he says, the first bud is so tiny we cannot see it. It's almost microscopic. But that's what makes this day special. We don't see the rebirth, but we have a munah in the rebirth. Chazal established this day as Rosh Hashanah, says Chassam Sofer, we're showing our munah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we rejoice in something that we cannot even see, but we know that the trees will be covered in leaves in just a few months. So it's a tremendous musar for us in terms of our bitachon and our amunah. Just the Kadosh Baruch Hu is the Borei Olam and the Manhig Olam, we see His hand in nature, in the world, in this Olam Hazeh, even if we can't see it. We see it because we believe it. We don't see it, we don't believe it because we see it. We see it because we believe it. One more aspect which the Sons of Rav points out, and I thought was quite an interesting insight that Rav Biderman brings down, is that when you start from Chamish Yosef B'Shvat, every 2 weeks is another Yontif, continuing on. Except this year it's an Uber year, so it doesn't work this year. But it doesn't matter. It still holds because we have a Purim Katan. Chamish Yosef B'Shvat, 2 weeks later, Rosh Chodesh Adar. 2 weeks later, Purim. 2 weeks later, Rosh Chodesh Nisan. 2 weeks later, Pesach. 2 weeks later, Rosh Chodesh Iyar. 2 weeks later, Pesach Sheni. You didn't think of that, did you? Okay? Then like Ba'omer, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and Shavuos. So it's a series of Yom Tovim, one after the other. There's so much going on that we're renewing our emunah. Even though it's a cold winter day, we're starting with this. Now that's a fascinating concept. One can get very depressed when you think about the summer months. We think about Shivos B'Tammuz, and we think about not only that, before that even, Asar B'Teves, which we just had. Why is Asar B'Teves the only tainus that can come out on a Friday? None of the others can come out on a Friday. They're always nidcher. Because that was a haschala. That was that little microscopic bud that started Nebuch the Churban. So just to counteract that, just pum fakert, we have these Yom Tovim coming up, starting with Chamisha Asa. We see that little bud, as Rabbi Biderman points out, that we cannot see, this microscopic beginning that renews our emunah, that brings us to the ultimate Geula and Yeshua. B'meher v'meinu. Amen.